Mandalorian and Grogu, or technically if you want to get a little technical about it, Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't know, basically when I went to go get my ticket at the theater, I just call it just Mandalorian and Grogu, got my ticket and went in. So anyways, fuck it. But anyways, this is the first time in 7 years that we've actually had Star Wars on the big silver screen ever since,
Somehow Palpatine returned.
So it's no brainer that we all know that the Star Wars brand has been tainted and run down to the ground ever since Disney has bought the acquisitions to Lucasfilm back in 2012, and they've been pretty much been on a big downslow. They've had a little bit of success, but not too much, but we all know the story. So they decided to make a movie based off of one of their popular TV shows on Disney Plus, and hopefully that would be able to revive the brand. To get into the story very vaguely without giving any spoilers, basically the movie is taking place after the first 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. There, Mando and Grogu are off on a task to go and rescue Jabba the Hutt's son in return for some information that'll lead them to a certain bounty that they're looking for. Just real quick, if you guys actually like what you see here, please give this video a like, share, and subscribe here to the Obsessive Movie Geek for more content like this. Anyways, back to the review. Now, first things first, I'm not opposed to the idea of a franchise trying to make a continuation off of a TV series into the form of a movie. I've actually seen that from last year where there was an anime series that literally broke me and became one of the best damn films of 2025. Unfortunately, I just didn't feel that with The Mandalorian and Grogu because, as I mentioned in my out of the theater reaction video, that this movie is basically nothing more than just an unnecessary filler film. Literally, it is just a long extended version of the TV show where basically it feels like as though that they just grabbed a lot of episodes, edited it all together, and just try to just call it one big movie for the big silver screen. It's not necessarily a mandatory film you need to watch because it's basically just Mando and Grogu going on another adventure that we've already seen from the series as it is, and basically even at the very end of the film, it doesn't really have that much of a dire consequences or payoff to anything that's going to lead to future installments, whether if that be on the TV show or in the movies. The CGI is a bit wonky and a bit glossy to the point where it got me taken out of the film a couple of times, and also it just doesn't help that this film is basically, the story-wise, is a recopy of another Star Wars movie that was not well received by critics and audiences, that being Star Wars: The Clone Wars. In that film, Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker are off on a task to go and rescue Jabba the Hutt's son where he was a baby, and it's literally almost the similar plot to this film, except differently with different protagonists, and also Jabba the Hutt's son, I forget his name sometimes, but he's basically an adult now. So why would you want to recopy a story that was not well received in the beginning and try to feel like you can just capture that same, I guess, magic in the first place if you think you can just tweak it a little? I don't know. But really the worst part about this film is when, in a certain scene, like I said, no spoilers in this review, is when Grogu and Mando are in the forest, and then Grogu has to do a certain situation to help out Mando, and they use, I'm just gonna say this a little bit, Grogu uses a little bit of a certain Jedi power that was also used in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker that also pissed off many fans, and they're using that same element in this film to make it feel more connected. I like Jon Favreau as a director, and I also like Dave Filoni for what he's done with some of the Star Wars projects, but from what they did with both of this film, this is a whole new low for them. But as I also mentioned in my out of the theater reaction video, which I gotta be fair on this, I did not necessarily hate this movie, because honestly, there are some good elements that I did like from the film, but it's basically also that stuff that you would have liked from the Mandalorian series, like Pedro Pascal. He obviously delivers great performance as the Mandalorian, and also there is the father-son like relationship that you like with Grogu. Some of the action sequences are okay. From what Disney has made, this is probably the second or third best that they probably made in terms of its film category, and I'll take this film any day over that I would do with the freaking sequel trilogy. Like, that is a whole nother story. For my final score, I'm gonna give The Mandalorian and Grogu a 6 out of 10. This movie review was just more out of disappointment because I know how grand and cinematic that the Star Wars universe can be at its full potential, but of course when it comes to this franchise, there's a different standard to that. I really just think that this movie just would have been better off as a 4th season for The Mandalorian. Wouldn't you agree, Mando? Now that is the way.